Welcome to On the Square with Councilman Kurt Johnson. Thank you for tuning in today. Today we're going to have an exciting show with two councilmen from the city of Grand Prairie, Councilmember Mike Dobosky and Mayor Pro Tem John Lopez. But first, I'd like to give you a little bit more information about myself. I told you I'm from Shreveport, Louisiana. I do enjoy sports, but however, I don't watch sports like I used to. I spend a lot more time doing research on things that interest me. It's like history, trying to find out the true meaning of certain things in life. And I spend a lot of time doing that. So I do watch a lot of TikTok, although people don't believe there's a lot of truth in TikTok. But all you gotta do is just sit there and look at the video and then go back and research it to fact check it yourself. So that's a little bit more information about myself and things I like to do and enjoy. So let's get started with today's show with Councilmember Mike Dobosky. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. So let's get started by asking you, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you like to know? We would like to know, who are you, to try to get to know you a little bit better.
Sure. See here, we'll keep it on a high level when we don't have all day. We'll run out of daylight. But, again, Mike Dobosky, born and raised here in Grand Prairie, been here 51 years. The only time that I've left is when I thought I wanted to go to college and found out that college wasn't for me. I came back after a semester. But besides that, went through the whole public system here. Even went to private school. That didn't work out. The nuns didn't want me there, and I didn't want to be there. So, I went from Bottom Elementary to Immaculate Conception to Truman Middle School to South Grand Prairie. So I went through the whole system here. Never really left. Worked here in Grand Prairie. I work here now. And the thing about me is I went off to work like in other places, Dallas and whatnot, but I've always wanted to come back to Grand Prairie. I've always had a feeling that, hey, something's going to be happening here. And it just so happened that me ending up in the healthcare is something that we really need in Grand Prairie. So it really gave me the thrive to really accomplish things here in Grand Prairie outside of what we do here as a council.
Speaking about college, that had me thinking about when I was graduating from high school. I wanted to go to college for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
I wanted to join a fraternity. I wanted to go out and hang out.
Yeah.
And I felt guilty that I was going to spend my parents' money to do that because I wasn't focused on school.
Yeah.
And that's why I chose to join the Navy. They came and knocked on my door and said, well, I can go to school for free. I say, that's all on me. If I don't do well in college, I can't put that financial burden on my parents. So I understand the decision going to college because it's not for everyone.
It's not, technically, or really, and we've discussed this not too long ago. When I was a senior in high school, my oldest brother, Frank, he was already on a ship out in the Mediterranean Sea. My other brother, Isaac, was at Midwestern State, senior in college. And so we were, I was graduating from high school that year. He was going to graduate college. And that was 1990, Desert Storm was coming in. And so my older brother, Frank, was heading that way. And they called my other brother from college to come home. And at the time, we had our naval base here in Dallas, right here next to Grand Prairie. And so my mother took it really hard. And I thought, going through high school, seeing my brothers, okay, they're Marines, I'm going to be a Marine. You look up to your brothers, you do all that. But when I saw my mother and what it put her through, that one was on a ship heading that way, and another was coming home together, Desert Storm, she looked at me and I knew I wasn't going to join. I couldn't do that to her. It really affected her. And then my dad, he was always, hey, you got to get a higher education. You got to get more education. So I just said, okay, but it was the same thing. You went over there, you hanged out, you went through Rush, the whole fraternity thing, and it's like, this isn't for me. And it just tells you something about you, says there's more out there for it. And that's the decision that I made, and I've never regretted it.
Yeah, I feel that I'm part of the oldest fraternity, one of the oldest fraternities, that's the Navy. So I didn't pledge anything by going to school later, although I had the opportunity to what I consider you pay your way into the fraternity. I said, it's not the same.
There you go.
If I was going to go, I want to go down the line. But that didn't happen for me in this lifetime. So maybe an early one or the next one.
Yeah.
So who is your role model and why?
My dad. My dad, he's my role model. He taught me as a young man, a young boy, that if you want something, you better go out there and get it. No, nothing's going to be given to you. Nobody's going to give it to you. He came from, Mexico, working the streets of Mexico. He was a shoe shine boy. It was just him and his mother. Never knew his father. They slept on, dirt floor, very poor, but he made it his way here. Matter of fact, when he was a shoe shine boy, he always kept that. So I have it in my office, and I go every morning. I go in my office and I rub on it because I think if he can do it, I can do it, and it's very sentimental to me. But yeah, he's my role model.
Right.
Yeah.
I sort of suspected that. I'll tell you a little bit about my father. My father was crippled, handicapped, and I didn't even know that. And it was not until the kids, when we went from private school to public school,
Yeah.
they pointed that out to me, that my father walked different. And I recall one night, because we were at the dinner table, a PTA meeting. I asked my mother, could she come? And she said, no, your dad gonna come. I said, I don't want dad to come in. She said, why? Because he walks funny and the kid's gonna tease me. And she said, then, I never forgot it, is that, yeah, your father is handicapped. He can sit around and get a check from the government, but he chooses to get up every day like any other man and go to work. So that's where I get my drive from, besides my mother, but my father being handicapped and still getting out and earning a job like everybody else. He didn't use that as a, per se, handicap to not to work.
He made the best of it.
That's right. What things do you prefer to avoid or avoid doing?
I would say procrastination. It's always been a handicap of mine, hindrance, with our schedules, right? We have a lot going on, not only our responsibilities to our constituents in our community, but projects where each one of us work in our district. But then we have our business, you have your job, I have my business, and there are times that procrastination gets the best of me. And that's the one thing, every year it's on my list of avoid, do better, put it to the side. But I would say that's the biggest thing. It just, we just need, every once in a while, need a time to rest, and it comes hand in hand. So that's the one thing that I try to work on every day.
Okay, well, I still have friends in the Navy tell me I need to slow down. I say, I have slowed down.
Yeah.
I'm trying my best to get away from that high tempo pace, ensuring that I'm getting things done correctly. Because I agree with you, procrastination, I don't have time for it. It's either we're going to do it or we're not going to do it.
Yeah.
And there's some things we say, I'm saying in a nice way, in the Navy we would say, either poop or get off the pot.
There you go.
We got to keep it moving. So
That's
I
right.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
How has the council changed in the past 5 years to you?
Well, one thing that I'm proud of that I see change is changing color. As far as when I came on in 2017, 2017, I was the only one. And it really didn't, at that time, what is that, 6 years ago? Mm-hmm. It really didn't resemble who we are as Grand Prairie and how we've grown in Grand Prairie. And in the last 6 years, there's been a lot of change, not only in color, but also gender. We have women on there now. And so I think a mixture of that, having a good mixture of not only whites, but blacks and browns, it gives a better look at how our landscape is here in Grand Prairie. And not to say, there's still room for growth, but I think that's the biggest thing. The other thing that I'm very proud of is the vision that we're starting to have. We see the growth now. We know what's coming. We know what others are doing around us, and it's made us more competitive. And so I think, us collaborating as a group, that I'm proud that we can have these discussions. Now, the good thing about it is these discussions that we have are very constructive of, we tell each other how it is, and it's good and bad, but it's the truth and it's the best for our community, right? We may have two different directions of getting there, but we're going to get there. And that's what I feel that, one, we're starting to resemble who we are now. And now we're starting to grow of what we are. And I'm excited about our future of who we're going to be. And so, I thank you personally for us having discussions and getting feedback from each other. I remember your first time when you were sworn in. I'll never forget it. And I'm still waiting for the chance that I get to. But I'm telling you, the first time when Councilman Johnson was sworn in, I had a project of mine, and he voted against it. And I looked at him, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? But that's the good thing about it, is that at the end of the day, we can respect each other.
That's right. So apparently you haven't let that go. And
No,
you're
no,
gonna wait for the perfect moment to get
That's
you back.
right. I'm still waiting for that big project to just come in.
What is the number one way, as we as citizens or the citizens of Grand Prairie, can make a substantial difference in our city?
Get involved. It's as easy as that. If you see something, say something. If you want something, say something. The biggest thing is to vote. And I think we've seen that lately. I think we've seen a lot of that. And we have so much room to grow. You know, one thing that I could see as Grand Prairie is that we've always been a sleep town. And that's been, you know, ever since my first campaign that I did with Miss Ruth Lee Jackson. I was 12 years old, putting up yard signs. But ever since then, it's getting involved. That's all. It's as simple as that. I saw a constituent this morning at Walmart, and she goes, Mike, my street. And I said, I've turned it in. And she called me about 12:30, 1 o'clock this afternoon. She called me on Facebook Messenger. And I said, hey, Miss Hall, how you doing? And she goes, Mike, they're out here working. I appreciate it. And I said, hey, anything else that I can do for you? And that's what it is. If you see something, say something.
Right.
And the more involved we get, the better off we are. And it's all about communicating. As long as we can communicate good and bad, we'll find a solution. We may not agree, but we'll find a happy medium.
Right. I've said this on the show before. I believe local government is more important than the federal government in the sense where everything starts here at the bottom.
Exactly.
And too often, people start at the top with their vote. Like next year's 2024, the presidential election, everybody's going to get ramped up. Hey, I got to vote for the president.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're going to realize, like I got a call today for a guy who's building a home with a builder, and they need some assistance. So I've asked the staff to help. I tell people all the time, you can't call the president.
That's right.
You know, you're going to have to call your local leaders to get things done. So
it's kind of like we're a pyramid, right? And we're the base, and everything goes up to a point where the president is. But everything starts with us. We're the foundation.
that's right.
It's like building a house. You can't put up the walls, windows, or roof without having the foundation.
Yeah.
And as long as we continue to do what we're doing, we're going to build a very strong foundation for the future.
And that's why I say the city government is the foundation.
Yep.
The walls and the windows, the state government, and the roof is the federal.
Bingo.
As long as we build a strong foundation and people get out to vote, because they don't come out until there's a problem. And then just like the guy who hadn't moved in Grand Prairie, he looked up who's the local representative. That's why he reached out to me. He said he hadn't even moved in yet.
And we see a lot of that, you know, especially when we're out in public, Home Depot, things of that. You know, I'm at Home Depot a lot. I do a lot of stuff, you know, the medical building that I own, I do a lot of the maintenance, from painting to plumbing to everything. So I spend a lot of time at Home Depot or Ace Hardware, and I'll see people and they said, well, I need this and blah, 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 and I'm complaining about this, blah, blah. I said, you vote? No. And I said, come on. You know, so it's one of those things. You want to get involved? Come on, step up.
Absolutely. If you're sitting here a year from now celebrating what a great year it's been for you in your role as a council member, what does that look like?
Us having a good time, having a fine cigar, a fine drink, but just reminiscing of the battles. You know, I always look at this. And I tell people I may have lost that battle, but the war's not over. And that's how we have to be. Looking back a year of the growth. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? What could we have changed? You know, you're a history buff. I love history. We learn. We look at our history. We learn from that. Make sure we don't do it in the future. And so the history repeats itself, right?
Yep.
And so when you're looking back a year from now of what did I do good that it can be great? And do we want to be great or do we want to be excellent? And if we were ready for excellent, then why can't we be elite? Right? And so from a year now, and when we look back at this, I want to be able to say, hey, look, we did a damn good job. But you know what? Let's take it to the next level. And then moving forward and looking in the future, where we're going to be from a year from now, 3 years from now. And you know, like I said, you know, we have the opportunity to change Grand Prairie for a long time. You know, and we're very fortunate that we have a lot of dirt that's not being used right now, whether it's on the north side or especially in your district on the south end. You know, there's a lot of things that we can do. That we're a donut hole. We're the donut hole of the donut, and everybody around us wants to come in. But now it's going to be, hey, who are we going to be able to collaborate the best? Yeah. So where you're on the south end, I'm right here in the middle. You know, we're going to work this, and with all of our council members, you know, we're going to find what's the best possibility and the best project for Grand Prairie.
Will you share a moment about the committee that you chair on the council?
So I'm the chair of CCDC, which is City Council Community Development, kind of like economic development, but we're working on projects right now that whether it is a type of zoning for building or if it's a type of restaurant or anything of that. Right now we're getting ready, coming up in next month in August, we're going to be talking about a master plan. And basically what it's a master plan is what is the need in Grand Prairie, whether it's affordable, which is attainable housing. We know right now the housing has been going up through the roof, but is that attainable? Whether for a young professional ready to get out or a senior citizen that's ready to downsize, right? The kids are moved out, bottom line, they don't need all that. They want to down. What's affordable? Not only that, but transportation, fiber optics, all the elements that President Biden has come out for the infrastructure bill. And so we're going to be discussing that, collaborating as far as what is the need in Grand Prairie. It's going to start in the committee there that also includes Councilwoman Jacqueline Eden and also our Mayor Pro Tem John Lopez. So we as a group, we get with staff, our Assistant City Manager Bill Hills, wonderful, great guy. He's mentored me on a lot of things. So it's opening that discussion with him along with our group and our staff of what is the best need so we can create a group. We can bring on a group to work with us, not only in Austin, but also in Washington to go get those federal funds that we can come back and build jobs and create jobs and entertainment and fiber optics for our low housing, our low income. So it's us all getting together and building a synergy that we can take a package to Washington and say, here's what we need for Grand Prairie.
Right. So what is it you like to leave the audience with about Mike, or what your last thing you'd like to talk about?
Well,
they can get to know something else about you or what we need to do.
I would say this, I've learned from my role model, my dad, that if you want something, you got to go out there and get it. Me as an entrepreneur, I've learned fail, and it's okay to fail. I use FAIL as an acronym, F-A-I-L. It's the first attempt in learning. And in order to be successful, whether you're your own business or in the Navy or in the medical or whatever you do, it's okay to fail because you're going to learn not to do it again, first of all, right?
Right.
But a lot of it is get involved. I know for you and I, we have the desire to do it. For me, I'm at that stage in my life. For me, it's giving back. For us, I've said this several times. I look at us and the other council members as farmers. We're planting our seeds. And those seeds are for those that are coming after us that they can harvest. It's what you and I do now and what we're going to do for y'all. How are y'all going to obtain and take that in the future? That is, I could say, is for me, that is going to be the most satisfying thing is what can we leave others to come? It doesn't matter what part of Grand Prairie you're from or what side of the railroad tracks. I don't look at any of that. I'm blinded by all of that. We all bleed red, and we're all human. We're all God's children, right? At the end of the day, that's what it is. But what can we do for ourselves? The other thing is what can we create? We've had discussions, and we're continuing to have discussions. What can we do as a city? Now, I've been here on 6 years, and I've never worked on a project where the city collaborates with our GPISD. I've never had a project to like, hey, councilman, you're going to work with board trustee, this person or that person. But I'm looking forward to that day, to how we as a city can work together with our ISD to build, because we're such a blue collar town. We got Fortune 500 companies. We got Bell Helicopter, Lockheed Martin. They got billion-dollar contracts. How can that feed back into our school system? So it's an opportunity for us to lead by example and leave it to someone else to carry that torch, just like we were left. I was left carrying the torch from my parents. They're just become that age to where they don't have the energy, and I started getting more involved. Right. And so now it's our turn.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you for coming to the show
Sure.
today and sharing a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
And we'll be right back with Mayor Pro Tem John Lopez.
The City of Grand Prairie offers Alert GP, a high-speed communication service for emergency notifications. Receive alerts from the Grand Prairie Emergency Management Team by going to the city's website and following the sign-up instructions. Alert GP can notify a lot of people in a short time. It targets the entire city or specific areas where critical community alerts are necessary. If we can't reach you, we can't alert you. Visit gptx.org/alertgp and sign up today.
Welcome back to On the Square with Councilman Kurt Johnson. Now we have our second guest, Mayor Pro Tem John Lopez. Welcome, Mayor Pro Tem John Lopez, to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me today.
I appreciate that. So let's get started by asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself, or let the viewing audience get to know a little bit more about you.
Sure. My name is, John Lopez. I've been on city council for about 5 years now. Before then, I moved to Grand Prairie when I was 5. And we lived here, pretty much went Grand Prairie IC schools, and been very active in the community. My family members were involved in Immaculate Conception and St. Michael Church, and we just really became fabric of the community. So I've been very engaged ever since high school. I've been very active in the community, trying to figure out what I could do to make a difference in the area.
Well, Councilmember Mike Duboski was the first Hispanic or Latino, if I'm not trying to say the wrong one, elected to the council, and you were the second in the history of Grand Prairie.
Question for you.
So how do you feel about that?
I think it's a great opportunity. I mean, our city has changed quite drastically. So it was a matter of time before, you know, we saw the diversity change a little bit within our political landscape in all different positions here within our city. So I think it's a great honor. I know that, you know, it's a privilege just to serve every single day alongside everybody on city council and the mayor as well. And I think that, you know, a lot of people look up to this. And I think it's up to us to really try to figure out, you know, what's the next stage for our city to grow.
Correct, right. Who is your role model and why?
Sure. That's a really good question. I really, you know, have a lot of different people I look up to. But one that's been very constant in my life would have to be Cesar Chavez. Cesar Chavez was an individual that inspired me at a young age. It's the way he went about, you know, making sure that he fought for social equality, you know, at the farm workers, but also provided an avenue of a nonviolent approach, you know, and I think that's a very important factor of it. How do you do it, and how do you make sure that people that don't have a voice has a voice at the table during different parts of the process?
Right. Did Cesar Chavez work with Dr. King, or did they, for some reason, I believe they worked together, or I know they came together on something.
Correct. There were several different approaches that they paralleled together, especially when Cesar Chavez was at a period where he was fasting. So there was a period of time where he did not eat, you know, because he was protesting the boycott and being part of the boycott of protesting the rights for farm workers. So during that process, you know, they were able to connect, and there was different times where they were able to work with one another in a nonviolence approach of making sure civil rights was being pushed fairly.
Yeah, both of them were instrumental to changing a lot of laws in America to ensure we all had a better voice to speak out on. So and that's all I'm going to say about that, because I have some other history facts. So what things do you prefer to avoid or avoid doing?
I'm not really a big handyman, so I avoid anything physical attraction. But when it comes to, you know, being involved and being engaged and you know, hosting people and listening to people, that's my passion. But if you ask me, hey, go fix something that, you know, fix this device and that device, that's what I try to avoid. I try to avoid
the handyman.
The handyman duties.
Honeydew list.
The honeydew list, yes.
Where, so what you're saying that we can't call you to tighten the doorknob up because, hey, it's just going to fall off.
Yeah, it's probably going to fall off sooner or later, for sure.
Okay. How has the council changed in the past 5 years for you?
In the past couple of years, our city council, you could see the difference in vision, and we got a council that's very much engaged, and not only engaged, but they want to be active. They have a passion of serving, and making sure that voices are heard at all different levels throughout the government process. I think that's a lot different than before. You know, we're set up now as a city to bring in what we want to bring in. And now you got council members that are out there. Not saying that before they weren't out there. It's just you see them being a lot more active, wanting to get into the weeds a lot of trying to bring people forward in the process.
Yeah, trying to bring more diverse contractors and builders, because I believe instead of having a cookie cutter approach to everything, bringing in that diversity as well would give us different projects, different architectural design, something different. And my approach has always been, I like something different and better than what the other cities have. And I think that you guys have done the same thing.
No, I totally agree with that. I know that one of our passions is bringing out small business, bringing out local opportunities, making sure they have a voice in the process, but also that we look at downtown and we look any parts of Grand Prairie, we want to make sure those small businesses thrive in our city, because they do make an impact in our city. They're the ones that help us and it's been there all along. So we got to make sure that we don't forget about local business, small business, minority business that want to participate, that want to understand who Grand Prairie is. Provide that avenue. Is just having a discussion and allowing them to understand what the process is.
Well, it was your idea to have the Small Business Expo early this year. You'd like to talk about that?
Sure, it was a great event. I think as a city council, we knew that we were trying to figure out what else can we do differently to bring people forward. What else can we teach them about how to apply for different opportunities within the city, how to do business with the city. So we had a great idea working with city staff and making sure that we provided an expo, which had over 300 participants, where a lot of people got to see that one-on-one approach. And we even did it after hours because we felt that was important. Because if you're running a small business during the day, if you're construction, whatever, you're running your business, right? You're out there working. If you do it after hours in the evening, it provides more people an opportunity to participate and to learn a little bit more. And we brought in the experts, and that was a big plus for us.
Right. I attended the event. It was a very success to me. There was a lot of folks there engaging with the vendors and trying to find out how to do business with the city and other vendors. And I saw a lot of folks just collaborating together. Hey, good to see you here. Here's my card. They exchanged business cards. So I think it was a success. Do you plan on doing that again?
Sure. We do have plans of doing that small local business expo again this year. We're targeting towards the end of this year. And we're trying to make it even better. I mean, give it more opportunities and try and bring in different corporations. You got like different tool companies, you got different stores that sell construction material. We're trying to get them part of it so like that they can make sure they understand what opportunities small businesses have within their organizations as well.
Okay. Okay. Give us some ways that you think citizens of Grand Prairie could get involved and make a substantial difference within the city of Grand Prairie.
There's many different ways to be involved. I mean, one, we want to hear your opinion. You know, when you see cases going before you in your neighborhood, we're interested in getting your input. You know, now that with your efforts and different council members' efforts, it's become a lot easier. You could actually voice your opinion online and submit a form, whether you're for an item or against an item. You know, our city council, you know, we're just here and we're here to drive y'all's quality of life. And we're here to listen to y'all. I mean, we just sit around the table to make sure your voice is heard. So that's something I would continue to say is whether you do it on Nextdoor, whether you reach out to us directly, we want to hear your opinion because at the end of the day to day, it's going to impact you more if it's something that's close to you, especially in your backyard.
Right. And like you said, I put my information on Nextdoor and I have to work with staff to get the link that they can do the support or oppose. And I just say, you put your opinion out there, you support it or oppose it. I firmly believe I'm here to represent their interests, and that's the way I voted. I think some members on the council and the mayor knows which way I'm going to vote or how I'm going to make my motions based on the input from the citizens because I think that's what I'm here for. So if you're sitting here a year from now celebrating what a great year has been for you on the council and in your role, what does that look like?
I think if a year from now, I would like to see our vision, you know, painted out to the community a little bit more clearer, understanding that our vision is not just 161 and Epic. A lot of people think you're spending a lot of effort there. Our vision really is how to encompass a whole city, whether it be downtown, whether it be along I-30, more development around I-20, how do we address transportation, but also the growth we have 287, 360. I mean, I think we're in a good position where a year from now, they get to see that we're not just targeting one area of town. We're trying to see how to encompass different areas throughout the city.
Okay. You're on a committee for the city. You'd like to explain that and share about what the committee is?
Sure. I'm on the Economic Development Committee here within the city. We look at different ordinances, different zoning, different things that's happening throughout the city, and we try to give direction. Sometimes we will look at a master plan in a particular area of town to try to give direction as far as what direction we want to see. We try to bring in staff to look at different building codes, different zoning within a particular area. So that's a very important aspect of it. And also trying to work with developers to make sure they understand that, you know, we're not a city that just wants any developer just to come in and do whatever they want to do. We want a city that we want to be part of the process, and we want to make sure they understand that we have certain standards here. What's good for up north has got to be good for Grand Prairie too.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're also a part of the National League of Cities, and you're on a committee there as well. And you've been on there. You're the longest council member that's been on one of the committees from the National League of Cities. Am I correct?
Correct. Currently, I'm one of the council members that's been there the longest. Our Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, which is a very important committee. You know, you hear a lot on the federal level that there's a lot of transportation dollars that each state, each local city gets to access to. You know, so this committee is very important because we get to understand what grants are available and make sure that we apply for those grants to make sure that our city, that's over 200,000, gets our fair share of the money. It's free money that's out there. Now, that money's going to run out at one point. So we want to make sure we have the right players in place to make sure that we're advocating for our city, but also bringing back dollars to help us.
Yeah, definitely you're advocating for us for the transportation dollars because that saves the taxpayers money here locally because, like you had mentioned, it's free money, and we are all about trying to get as much free money as we can to build out, continue to build out the infrastructure and go with our master plan vision around the city. With that said, last question. Is there anything you'd like to leave us with about you or would you like the audience to know?
One thing, you know, our city is very open to business. I mean, we're attracting different businesses. One thing that we want to make sure to get your input is to make sure we don't lose the quality of life. You know, a lot of people like the feel of Grand Prairie, small town feel. So we want to make sure we don't get too big too quickly, but if we do continue to grow, to make sure we protect those established neighborhoods, to make sure that we don't try to overlook all the contributions they have done to our city, whether it be as business, whether it be their neighborhood, make sure they're a part of the process and included in the process and overall vision.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show today, Mayor Pro Tem John Lopez, and I've enjoyed our friendship for a good 20 plus years. So thank you. And with that said, I'd like to thank everyone for viewing the show today. If you have any questions, reach out to us. That's what we're here for. Thank you and have a good day.